Yeah.
This one, now
Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. Yeah. Chat Night Africa. Panikenaka. Oh, Gaia. Welcome to Chat Night. We bring you good vibe. We shine on the light. Welcome to Chat Night. We bring you good vibe. We shine on the light. We all over the world. Chat Night Africa. Chat Night Africa. We all over the world. Chat Night Africa. Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. We bring you good vibe. We shine on the light. Welcome to Chat Night. We bring you good vibe. We shine on the light. We all over the world. Chat Night Africa. Chat Night Africa. We all over the world. Chat Night Africa. Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. The only place that we give you good vibes. Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. All over the world we are shining the light. Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. It's not only for Africans. Chat Night Africa. Welcome to Chat Night. Promoting the culture of Africa. Chat Night Africa. This is the voice of Africa to the world. Africa's platform to be heard.
Chat Night Africa. Let's gang up. Change mindset and empower Africans. Are you ready? Africa to the world.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for deciding to spend some of your evening with us on Voices of Africa at Chat Night Africa. Let me ask you a question. When last did you see a doctor? You asked me for what? And you are right. There are lots of debilitating illnesses which could be avoided if people had just seen a doctor for a routine hospital visit. That's the object for our discussion tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Divine Chamukong. Once again, welcome to the broadcast this week. You are deciding to watch Chat Night Africa because you have made the decision to have an instructive and exhilarating time. Stay tuned.
Hello, my name is Dr. Joanna Tala. I am an American College of Lifestyle Medicine board certified practitioner, and I own a business called Healthy Lifestyle Consultant and Coach. As a lifestyle medicine practitioner, we use the pillars of lifestyle medicine in the prevention of disease, maintenance of health, as well as the reversal of certain lifestyle-related chronic diseases. Examples of lifestyle-related chronic diseases are diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. Diabetes and hypertension are pretty silent early on in the disease course. This means that people who might have it do not know that they don't realize that they have these diseases unless they went for a checkup or a catastrophic event occurs. In order to prevent catastrophic events from occurring, it is highly recommended that a regular checkup is done.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's Dr. Joanna Tala, who is our guest this week at Chat Night Africa. Join me now in welcoming our august guests on the platform. Dr. Joanna Tala, thank you for accepting to come take questions on our platform.
Hi, Divine. Thank you for having me. Hi, Chat Night viewers. I am honored to be here to present this topic.
Dr. Tala, people generally go to the doctor when they fall sick. You have a hard time this evening convincing people that they ought to go see their doctor when or if they're feeling well? How do you make that case?
Yes, indeed, Divine. This is a very important issue. You would say, why should I go see a doctor or a healthcare practitioner for that matter, if I feel okay? Here's why. The answer is pretty simple. There are many chronic diseases that present initially without any symptom whatsoever. That means you don't feel it, you can't feel any disturbances, you don't feel ill, you still feel okay. Now, these diseases would only present, you would only be not come to the awareness that you are developing something when you see a healthcare practitioner or your doctor and they do an exam and find something during the exam. Otherwise, many people indeed present with a catastrophic event. Now, let me take an example of such an event. Say hypertension. This is a very silent disease. It begins quietly. You have no idea that your blood pressure is increasing, staying high chronically. So one day something happens, you fall to the ground and you have a bleed or something, and that's a stroke. You have a stroke, you pass out. And that's when it's discovered that you actually have extremely high blood pressure. At this point, that disease is pretty advanced, and it takes a tough will, and it takes a lot to even try to reverse it or to treat it. So here, it is very important to do regular checkups, because this is easy to control or to keep in check. If you have been found to have hypertension, something will be done. You might be requested to take some medicines, or you might be requested to begin to change your lifestyle habits. So here's why it is extremely important to do regular checkups.
Dr. Talla, this is not a question of how educated or not somebody is. I mean, I've met doctors, I've met nurses, senior nurses, who just don't think they ought to go see a medical doctor, especially when they're feeling well. Typically, and I used to be so back in Africa, I wouldn't go to hospital if I did not get up one morning and didn't feel and couldn't go to work. What do you think accounts for this?
I think because people are feeling well and, they're going about their lives, like you say, and they wouldn't see, and the mindset is we get to see a doctor or healthcare practitioner when we are sick. That's when we should go see them. But definitely that is not so true, because there are lots of diseases that can be controlled or prevented altogether if we did see a doctor in time. Now, I can give you some statistics here. Take a disease like hypertension, okay? In the US, you have 11 million people with hypertension that have no idea that they have hypertension. Here's another sad truth. Hypertension leads to many very, very debilitating diseases. Heart disease, stroke, which I mentioned before, kidney failure, to sexual dysfunction for that matter. So many people present actually when these events begin to occur. This is pretty late in the course of the disease. Had people discovered early on when they were still feeling okay, you're still feeling okay initially. You don't notice that there's something developing. Had you seen go for a regular checkup, that would be easily picked up. Your blood pressure is checked, it's picked up, and you will be recommended something which will definitely help in preventing that catastrophic events, the progression of this disease, and help you in the course in your life. So here's why it is very important, even for doctors and healthcare workers, to also do regular checkup.
I want to say that in Africa, for example, people feel that, well, it costs money to to go see a doctor, or to just go to the hospital. But you begin to ask yourself, what's the cost of preventing a disease or a debilitating disease, and the cost of a funeral, or a cost of actually treating something like stroke? And I tell you what, I mean, stroke, you can be yourself today, and in the morning, you're no longer who you are. I mean, if you've seen people who've had strokes and so, but the question somebody is asking already in that street in Limbe in Malawi or Limbe in Cameroon is, how would seeing a doctor prevent stroke, number one, sexual dysfunction, number two, heart disease? Now, I take these examples, these three examples, which you cited, because in my view, they're the big ones.
Exactly. Absolutely, Divine. Yes. If you see, you go for a regular checkup, even as you're feeling fine, your blood pressure is checked in this case for these examples. Your blood pressure will be checked. It's one of the regular routine checkup that is done. It's picked up that your blood pressure is pretty high, above 130 over 80 systolic versus diastolic. Now, when that is picked up, you will be recommended certain things. Now, you know, I am a lifestyle medicine practitioner. You come to me, you get that kind of a result, your doctor or your healthcare practitioner would recommend something. If it's not too high, they usually begin by advising on some lifestyle modifications, change your lifestyle. You can go see somebody like me to help you walk through this, or in the case of you can't do it, you can't manage, then there are medications that can control this pretty well. So when you see somebody, when you have regular checkups, these kind of diseases begin to show up, like hypertension. They are picked up, and something is recommended for you to do to stop the progression of this disease, to stop it from getting to this catastrophic event we talked about, such as stroke, right, or sexual dysfunction.
You are watching Voices of Africa at Chat Night Africa, and my guest this week is Dr. Joanna Talla. Thank you, studio audience. Doctor, when people come to your offices, you go to the hospital, whether in Europe, the United States, or Africa, the first thing that they're looking at is your blood pressure. Where's that so?
Right, because of these kinds of catastrophic diseases that high blood pressure can lead to, because we know also in the US, based on CDC data, let me bring up another statistics for you. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the US. Let that sink in. Heart disease. Heart disease is also one of those results, potential underlying result of hypertension. So there you go. You can already see that should somebody do regular checkups, this hypertension gets picked up. That is why we have a test that is pretty easy to perform. Very easy. It's done quick by any healthcare professional at the doctor's office or a healthcare center. And we can prevent such catastrophic diseases from occurring. So this is why it's very important to do high blood checks.
Each time when I go to my doctor, to see a doctor in the United States, I'm wondering whether I should tell the doctor, tell him or her what I want to get checked for. Should people tell the doctor, why are you checking for hypertension or high blood pressure and not brain cancer?
Divine, that is, so there are regulations on what should be checked at what time in a person's life. Now, there are also tests that have been developed and have been studied over and over and over. And we know clearly that when this is picked up, the likelihood of developing that disease later on in life, these catastrophic types of events can be prevented. Here's why
we have standards of care. Here's why there are healthcare groups that have sat together and decided that here are the things that we can do about this. Now, also important, certain other diseases. Now, hypertension is just one example. We have another disease like diabetes mellitus type 2, which really plagues the Black population. I know we have data and statistics here in the US, and it is pretty bad in terms of its prevalence, how often diabetes occurs, and by which groups, and how you can begin to recognize this disease if you go on early detection or early checkups, on regular checkups. It can be picked up early enough and something can be done to prevent its later on consequences.
When you talk about heart disease, that gets my attention, because we've heard of people who go to bed and not get up. And in Africa, especially, people are thinking there's some kind of witchcraft or something happened or, or homicide. When it's something which could have been prevented. See, that's why I cannot imagine anyone who wouldn't want to watch you as you so generously share your knowledge. And I really appreciate, let's talk about diabetes, because when you talk about Africans especially, you talk about diabetes. I've met so many of my friends in the United States, even when I travel to Africa, and almost every single of them has high blood pressure. If it's not high blood pressure, it is diabetes. So you watching now, have you done your medical checkup? Now, somebody's going to ask me, doctor, how often, how regular, because you're talking about regular medical checkup. Is it 2 times a year, once a year? And if once a year, why once, not 10 times a year?
Okay. Let me answer that question, the second question first, before I go back to diabetes and its effects in the Black community, and actually the entire world, to be honest. It's in the rise everywhere. Okay. Why should you go yearly? Just so that in the case of diabetes, it's a blood test that will be run, and it's just checking on your blood sugar. This is regular standard care when you go for a regular checkup. So your blood sugar, your blood chemistry will be done. Blood sugar is part of that. Once you have a level that is in the range of diabetes or pre-diabetes, you will be recommended certain actions. Either you begin some medications or you are recommended to begin to change again your lifestyle, to go towards a healthy lifestyle. Now, why not every year? Why not more than once a year was your question? Now, once a year, first of all, because when something occurs, it takes a while for these catastrophic events to develop. So we're hoping that if you come once a year, at least we will pick it up early enough to prevent the progression of the disease to the catastrophic state.
Well, somebody has sent me a text. At what age should somebody start thinking about going to see a doctor for routine check? You'll answer that question in just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, we've started a new rubric at Chat Night Africa. If you know somebody who is celebrating their birthday, well, let us know. Watch those who are celebrating this week. You will love what you're about to see. We want to wish all of you celebrating your birthday, happy birthday. This is Chat Night Africa, and my guest today is Dr. Joanna Talla. My name is Divine Chiamokong. I'm your host for Chat Night Africa in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. My broadcast producer in Lagos, thousands of miles away from where the studio is indicating, Mr. Z. Roger Full is indicating that you can watch this broadcast on our website, www.chatnightafrica.net. This broadcast is being aired on our website. You can also share it. You have our permission to share. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, here is Dr. Joanna Talla on the platform.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. Divine, your question was, how often should people check their blood pressure? How often should people go for checkups? Was that your question?
Yes. How often should people go for their checkups? And the subset of that question is, at what age? You're talking about babies, talking about adults, and what age?
Yes, so here's the thing. As regularly as possible is the simple answer. Now, in the Western world, in the developed countries such as Europe, most countries in Europe and the United States, it is really recommended that people do yearly checkups. Now, people with insurances, health insurances, this is easy. The insurances also not wanting to prevent these catastrophic diseases from occurring down the road would prefer that you check and get going in terms of preventing such a disease to occur. So it's a yearly checkup in these countries. That's the recommendation.
You can now call us. You can now dial the number 240-603-7367, 240-603-7367, and ask Dr. Joanna Talla a question. The phone line is now open, 240-603-7367. If you're outside of the United States, you can call that number via WhatsApp, 001, then you dial 240-603-7367. Dr. Joanna Talla, men, women, children, old men are watching you. As we get old, unfortunately, the paths are going bad.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, so that's just a fact. And I was talking about the importance of going to do a regular medical checkup to a colleague, and she said, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Now, tell us the difference between feeling fine and being sick.
Again, yes, Divine. Medical checkups are important. It is really recommended and strongly advised for people to do regular checkups, again, because certain diseases are silent initially. The diseases they don't present with any symptoms initially until it's so far gone that it results in these catastrophic events we talked about. This is why it's so crucial. If you do your regular checkup, this gets picked up by really very simple tests. And for those who do not have insurances, really very cheap methods. This gets picked up really easily, and something can be done about it to prevent catastrophic events or the progression of these diseases. Now, at what age? I know you asked that question. Practically in the Western world and in the developed countries where you have insurances, they are requiring yearly checkups. Now, in other underdeveloped countries, in Cameroon, in some parts of Africa too, this is not so frequent. This is not, insurances are not very common, let's put it that way. So we know that babies, when they're born, the people go to clinics and they have the baby checked up, and they are required or recommended to come for some baby checks to make sure that the baby is developing appropriately. So here's what I will suggest after that. Definitely adults, once at least during their early 20s, during puberty, and during menopause. Definitely checkups are required. You should do a checkup because there are hormones that are being produced in the body, and it causes some changes in the chemicals and the metabolism in the body. During puberty, in both males and females, it's important to get a baseline. We are not expecting these children to have hypertension leading to such chronic diseases, but we need to have some baseline. Where are they at? We need to know they are growing well. Then, when you're getting to your 40s and 50s, towards menopause for women, and towards, yes, the testosterone is going down in men as well. There are, again, huge changes that occur. And now we see that in many cases, during this period or after menopause for women and during the ages of 50 in men and above, we begin to see these chronic events show up. So definitely one baseline during your 20s, if you're back in a remote place in Africa, definitely if some catastrophic event occurs in your life, because it's been shown that catastrophic events in people's life, life-changing things can occur in people's life and they maladjust. If they don't adjust properly, it can lead to definitely some chronic diseases. So after maybe 3-4 months, get yourself checked after some life-changing events occur.
When you talk, again, I've lost so many people, friends and relatives, to stroke, diabetes, and so on. That's why you see me coming back. And again, heart disease, that's why you see me coming back to stroke. I tell you what, when stroke strikes, your life is never the same. Imagine how difficult it is to manage stroke in the developed world. Absolutely. More difficult would that be in developing countries?
Absolutely.
That is why somebody is on the line. This is Chat Night Africa. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, Dr. Tala. Good evening, Mr. Chamukong. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good evening.
I want to make sure that Dr. Tala is hearing you. Dr. Tala, are you hearing the caller?
Yes, I can hear the caller.
Now, your question, do you want to disclose your identity or you want to remain anonymous? That's fine.
Well, I'm going to disclose my identity just because I wanted to add something to what Dr. Tala was saying. She's a good friend and I love what she's doing, lifestyle medicine. My name is Dr. B. Tazong Famundam.
Hi, Dr. B.
How are you doing today, my dear sis?
I am doing well, thank you. Thanks for calling in.
Okay. So I just wanted to throw something in because just looking at patients when they come in the clinic, I realize there are so many missed opportunities. We need to not limit how much help we get as far as our health. So I would say is that especially for checkups, the things that you said are wonderful, but I also want people to understand their risk because your risk determines how much you should get checked. If you're morbidly obese, meaning that you're overweight, if you're not eating properly, if you're very stressed out, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're smoking or drinking, you should consider yourself a high-risk person. And you should get yourself checked more often because you're more likely to run into trouble. And I know that these are a lot of things that we're dealing with in our community. So even if you have not, if let's say a woman is feeling fine, she's had all her babies and she feels good, you should still get checked. Because there are so many things happening. People are not getting enough sleep and cause a lot of problems in your health. Drinking, smoking can do a lot of damage to your body. Stress is a big one. And I know a lot of people go through stress. When you're going through major stress, it's an important idea to get yourself checked more often. Your blood pressure is more likely to go up. You're more likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. So when you're going through those periods, when you have life issues and you're not able to deal with them well, get your doctor to check you more often. Go get your blood pressure checked. It doesn't mean you have to get everything done. At least check your blood pressure, check your blood sugar, check your cholesterol. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Before you go, Dr. B. Tazong Famundam, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to take a question from me?
Yes, sir.
When you talk about, you see, especially Africans, generally human beings, they don't act until they know what risk they are exposed to. Let's take drinking. Let's take being obese. What do you call being obese? When you weigh what? Are you still talking about body mass index?
Absolutely.
It's a combination of both. I think what I've finally come to with obesity is that if you have extra fat sitting around in your body and it gets beyond a certain amount, it's considered to be obesity. But also, you can be overweight and be okay. But obesity technically is when your BMI is above 30. But you can be, your BMI may be even less than that, and you have other health issues like blood pressure and so on. So that is something that you have to consider. So I really would say that you want to stay at the right BMI, but the other important thing to look at is your waistline. That tells you a lot about obesity. Because there are people that are very heavy, like people that build muscle, they are heavier than what they should be, but they don't have fat. What they have is muscle mass. And so that is not considered obesity. So one is looking at the BMI, and number two, looking at the waistline. The waistline tells you what's going on. If your chest has excess fat sitting around on it and your waist has excess fat and stuff sitting around on it, you probably have a problem with obesity, or at least at the minimum, you're overweight.
Thank you, Dr. B. Tadzong Famunda. Dr. B. Tadzong Famunda, do you have a last word for women, especially? Lots of women will be sharing this broadcast. Lots of them are online right now. A word for women before you go.
Yes, women are they're amazing people. They hold families together. And sometimes in the process of holding families together, we forget that we need to take care of ourselves. You cannot give what you do not have. And I always remind myself that if you don't take care of yourself, it's just a matter of time before you run out of steam.
Absolutely.
And then the people that you are holding together are really going to have to live without you. So every time you think about postponing your health, tell yourself, if I'm not in good shape, I cannot take good care of the people that I love and care about and the people that have been placed in my sphere of influence. So remind yourself of that as the reason why you should go take care of yourself.
Dr. B. Tadzong Famunda.
And let me
Thank you, Dr. B, for dialing in. The number again is 240-603-7367. Thank you again, man.
Thank you so much. And I'm following. Thank you. Have a beautiful evening.
You do the same.
Thank you.
Now,
Dr. B. Divine, let me add, Dr. B, thank you so much. She said so many important things. That's so true, absolutely. If you're beginning to recognize these things occurring, your waistline is getting out of proportion, your weight is getting higher, you should check yourself because there are other things that might be happening in your body. Now, women, you mentioned women, absolutely important, especially during the beginning period of menopause. When menopause begins to set in, we see a lot of problems show up in women. So women, definitely don't forget yourself, like Dr. B said, and most especially when menopause begins to set in, a lot of hormonal changes are occurring, you should do regular checkups.
And this is Chat Night Africa. I'm your host, Divine Chiamokong, in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. One of the things women are very concerned about is breast cancer. At what age would you advise women to do regular checkup? I mean, to even go do is it mammogram?
I will let Dr. B jump into that. Now, different countries might have different requirements or recommendations, right? So I would say as early as possible. And the simple things that people could do is basically, every so often during their showers, do breast exam, palpate their breast area for any lumps or bumps. And in that case, they should definitely see somebody. Or they have any kind of pain or anything like that occurring. Now, as soon as possible is recommended. So with different countries, the recommendations become a little different.
Thank you, studio audience. You can dial the number 240-603-7367, 240-603-7367, and you'll be live on Chat Night Africa, Voices of Africa at Chat Night Africa. My guest tonight is Dr. Joanna Talla. She is a coach and lifestyle consultant. I was talking about you to somebody in Africa, and she said, Divine, is that another brand of medicine? Why are you interested in lifestyle medicine, Dr. Talla?
Very, very good question. Yes, that's indeed another branch in medicine. It's really expanding and exploding. Like Dr. B was saying a few minutes ago, it is very, very, very crucial what we do in our life. Our lifestyle choices really dictates sometimes most of the illnesses that occur in our lives. So we can do a lot to control and make sure we don't get certain diseases. We can do so much to prevent the occurrence of diseases. We are very much on the riding seat, on the front row of our own health. What we eat, the way we manage stress, And just adding some exercise in our lifestyle definitely controls the resulting diseases later on in life. Now, this branch in medicine has been expanding because what we've realized is that there are lots of things people can do. They can modify their lifestyle, and this would prevent diseases from occurring. We are talking here diabetes. Now, Divine, let me bring in some statistics again, some kind of shocking statistics with diabetes. We know that 34.2 million people have diabetes in the US. This is 10% of the US population. This is astounding. Diabetes is a terrible, debilitating disease, right? It can lead to all kinds of complications. A lot of people have to live on strong medications and they can take insulin. Now, type 2 diabetes by itself is a lifestyle-related chronic disease. Can you believe that? We can determine, in most cases, we always have some few extras that are not falling exactly within this range, but most people, 90% and above, can do something about their type 2 diabetes. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Pre-diabetes is something that can be picked up pretty early, right? Pre-diabetes is when your blood sugar is not yet in the range of diabetes, but it is higher than the normal range of blood sugars. Now, this is also a very common test that is done regularly when people do checkups. If people do their checkups, this can be picked up early enough, and people can take control by making certain few really reasonable lifestyle changes. What are we talking about here? What we eat, the way we manage stress, and we add a little bit of exercise in our routine, in our daily routine. And this is not too much to ask, but once people recognize that they are able to prevent such a debilitating disease from occurring, they are so empowered that they can do it. Think about it. Now, we also know that 88 million people aged 18 and above, older people here in the US, have pre-diabetes. This is 34% of the adult US population. They have pre-diabetes. Do you know that 9 out of 10 people who have pre-diabetes are not aware that they have pre-diabetes? Now, here's the other thing. We have studied, and studies have shown that people who have pre-diabetes and do nothing about the pre-diabetes, within 5 years, they develop type 2 diabetes, okay? So this is really a critical information. That means that if you do a regular checkup, you and I, Divine, we look healthy, we feel good, we are okay, we do a regular checkup, our blood sugars are found below diabetes range, however, higher than normal, and we are told we have pre-diabetes. We can make certain few lifestyle changes.
Let me ask you a quick question. What's the difference between pre-diabetes and diabetes?
Right, so like I just said, pre-diabetes is the beginning stages, if you will, that are leading to the disease type 2.
Agreed, but do you sit and feel in you, and that speaks to the topic that we have this evening. Absolutely. Do you sit and feel in you that you have pre-diabetes or that you have diabetes?
No, most people don't feel it at all. These are silent things encroaching in us. This disease begins very, very silently years before it actually shows up in diabetes. So now we can definitely do something at this stage. With regular checkups, Divine, we will find out that our sugars are higher than normal, and we can begin to make certain changes. We are powerful in what we can do. We can prevent this from occurring. And this is, Divine, the reason why this field, lifestyle medicine, is expanding. It's getting within the fields of all types of fields in medicine. And it stands alone again as a branch in medicine. And this is what I enjoy doing, assisting people in preventing such catastrophic diseases.
And we will be talking about the catastrophic complications of diabetes, just so you throw light. Because again, people are in the habit of not acting until they know the consequences of their inaction. This is Chat Night Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Joanna Talla will be right back. Again, as I said, we are introducing a new rubric, and here we go. I'll be right back. Once again, from the fountains of Chat Night Africa, we wish you happy birthday. Send us your information if you are you're celebrating your birthday. Let us know what you're doing and celebrate with you, even if we're not drinking any champagne on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, join me in welcoming Dr. Joanna Talla on the platform. Dr. Joanna Talla, I just told you before the interlude of music, the happy birthday wishes, that people don't act, especially we Africans, human beings in general, when they don't know, until they know what the consequence of inaction is. Talk about diabetes. Why should somebody care about it?
Absolutely, Divine. This disease is a debilitating disease. People who have anybody who is diabetic knows it. You have to take regular medications. The complications occur. There are devastating complications. Now, here are the complications that diabetes can cause, or it leads to, if not well controlled, to these other catastrophic diseases. Heart attacks, okay? Your heart stops and it can lead to death. This is really very, very catastrophic. Stroke is another disease, another event that can occur both with hypertension and with diabetes. Both things can be picked up when a regular, normal, standard checkup is done. Also, diabetes can lead to blindness, kidney failure, very, very difficult to control, and even thinking of curing if it gets to that stage. Loss of limb, toes, feet, extremities, infections of all kinds occur in diabetes. Now, diabetes, I tell you, Divine, it's a very difficult disease, especially type 2 diabetes is controllable. Type 2 diabetes in its early stages can be controlled. So here's why it's absolutely crucial to check, to have some regular checkup, and then if that is the case, to take action.
I have a text. You can text. Major Ndiashi Ngante has a question. He just texted. I have one just texted to my phone right away. It is this. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this topic. My question for Dr. Joanna Talla is this. In the case of diabetes, does having a parent that was diabetic an additional sign or reason to get tested for diabetes? Thanks, Betty from Connecticut. Your answer.
Yes, absolutely. A close relative, first degree relative we call, with diabetes is a kind of predisposition for everyone who has that kind of a relative to get diabetes if nothing is done. Now, this doesn't mean you will get it. It just means that you have to be on the guard, on the watch out. You need to do some regular tests to ensure that you don't get to that stage.
This is Voices of Africa at Chat Night. I'll be coming to Major Ndiashi Ngante's question in a moment. I want to share a personal story with you. About 28 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with blood pressure and diabetes. And I tell you, it's not fun managing, caring for somebody with blood pressure, high blood pressure and diabetes. You don't want to get there. It's drawing the inspiration from the experiences I'm having with my own biological mother that I thought this topic would be very, very useful. And this is how we got to know that my mom had diabetes and hypertension. There was nothing in her physically, outwardly showing that she has it. She told me that she was having some lumps in her breast. Thank God it wasn't cancer. I sent her to Yaoundé, Cameroon, and asked the doctor to screen for everything from A to Z. And that's when 30 years ago, we realized that my mom has diabetes and blood pressure. What if we did not? What if you are in the same situation without knowing? You will not know if you don't go see a doctor. I am urging every one of you watching this broadcast to go see a doctor. Now, in the Western world, we talk about insurance, as Dr. Joanna Talla has been mentioning several times, but that's not an excuse for you to not go see a doctor if you don't have insurance in Africa. And lots of people will be watching this broadcast in Africa if they're not doing so now. You have to ask yourself the question, how much money would you spend to go see a doctor for lab analysis? And how much would you spend if you got hit with stroke or diabetes? Your life will not be the same. Absolutely. I can tell you this. We've seen people die in their sleep. In Africa, this is witchcraft, doctor, because they had a heart condition without knowing that. Because they had been, let's talk about lifestyle. Talk about the things that people eat that could lead to what? Diabetes, hypertension, the two big ones.
Absolutely, Divine. Absolutely. Now, you did a fantastic job sending your mother off to get all these tests done head to toe and everything possible. And now they picked up what has resulted in some level of control. However, it could have been picked up earlier, maybe, and this would have prevented all this difficult treatment. Okay, difficult treatment. Now, lifestyle. We are empowered in what we can do in order to prevent certain diseases. And again, this is why this field is in existence. There are 34 million people in the US who have diabetes. 26 million of them have been diagnosed. A whopping 7.3 million people with diabetes are undiagnosed. Another very terrible statistics, 88 million people in the US, that is 34% of the US population, have pre-diabetes, and 9 out of 10 of these people have no idea that they have this disease. Lifestyle medicine focuses in using pillars of lifestyle medicine in the prevention of this chronic disease, lifestyle related actually. So what we eat absolutely matter. One of those pillars of lifestyle medicine is nutrition, proper nutrition. Food that is real food, not extremely processed, not processed. Constant processing of food is known to be not so good. It leads to diseases. Stay as close to the natural form of the food as possible. Second thing, Divine, do some exercises. Now we know that metabolism occurs in the body. There are reactions that occur in the body normally, naturally, and wastes are the result of these reactions, right? At the end of these reactions, we have some waste products. We need to eliminate these waste products. Okay, the liver is an organ that does most of this job. It tags on these waste products and might send it out through the gastrointestinal tract, or some of them can go through the skin, some can go through the kidneys. Now, exercise, not only does it assist in reducing or assisting at least to control weight gain, it decreases stress, and it also helps as excretory organ. The sweating that you do sends out a lot of toxins. So the accumulation of a lot of toxins is reduced. Stress, which is also an underlying cause of a lot of diseases, Divine, is controlled by exercise. So there we have 2 pillars of lifestyle medicine already mentioned. You have what you eat, good nutrition, some exercise, some kind of regular exercise, be it 15 minutes walk after your heaviest meal, or 30 minutes a day, moderate to moderate intensity exercise. And by that we mean where you can talk but you can't sing while you're doing it. We can do that. We have treadmills. We have all kinds of things. We can walk briskly around the house or the neighborhood, and we have that done. And it takes care of a lot.
Here is Major Ndiashi Ngante's question.
Yeah.
Dr. Thala, is there a difference with baselines for different peoples? It appears that the baseline standards we are measured against work well for some races. And I wonder if Africans may have a different baseline that has not been properly researched. How do you react to the question?
Absolutely. Now, baseline in terms of hypertension or baseline in terms of diabetes. Now, here's the thing, or weight. That's absolutely true. There are certain things that we haven't for this our African population really intensely studied that we should know. However, in terms of BMI or body mass index, this is, like Dr. B said, it's an okay measure of telling at least where we lie. Sometimes we might lie on the high end and still look and feel okay, and it doesn't necessarily mean it will lead to disease. That is the reason Dr. B mentioned the other matrix. That's your waist circumference. If you're beginning to put on mass around your waist, this is fat being deposited in fat cells around the organs. This has been known to be actually one of the most dangerous types of weight because they're storing a lot of fat in tissues which are surrounding vital organs. So yes, indeed, in terms of BMI, we might have some different metrics. However, we can also add our waistline to this in order to enhance our predictability for certain diseases.
I have a question just texted to me.
Yeah.
When women give birth, they develop body mass, they develop fat. Absolutely. Is that healthy or unhealthy fat? Is that something women should be worried about when they give birth to babies and they're developing the body mass? Initially,
this is a natural process that ensures that the baby has enough food. Nature requires for us to breastfeed our baby. So we begin to accumulate things that are normally going to be necessary to feed the baby. Now, some weight gain is acceptable, and you should talk, in every specific case, you should talk to your doctor how much exactly is acceptable. Now, after delivery and during the course of pregnancy, let me back off a bit. During the course of pregnancy, you don't want extreme weight gain. Of course, we're talking above 30, 40, 50 pounds. The baby is going to weigh what? About 8, 9 pounds. And now we've put on something like 30, 40 pounds. Now we already see, if you do regular checkups, you will be told that this is extreme weight that we are putting on. Yes, we need to build some weight in preparation for the baby, but however, not so much that it will become a very difficult thing to address later on in life. The short answer to that is that some weight is acceptable. However, once we have the baby and we begin to breastfeed, we should do everything possible to stay within eating natural and eating healthy, and then incorporating a little bit of exercise in our routine.
You are watching Voices of Africa at Chat Night. My guest this week is Dr. Joanna Thala. She is lifestyle coach and consultant. And even when this broadcast is over in a few minutes, you can still text your question and she'll answer in the green room. Doctor, we cannot wrap up without talking about stress. People are going through a lot. A lot. If it's not your husband giving you a lot of stress at home, it's your wife. Yes. If it's not either of
unfortunately,
it is your children. Or maybe you lost your job. Maybe your sister.
Divine, I can't hear you, the last bit. Yes, Divine was talking about stress before he comes back in. Stress, absolutely. Our lives today, our developed life, our busy schedules, our jobs, we just, there is so much that pushes the body, that demands our body, demands a lot from our body. Our body responds to stress, any terrible demand to the body, anyhow. Any kind of demand to the body reacts similarly. It sends
At
out.
what point, do you hear me now?
I do.
At what point does stress become a problem? What kind of stress are you talking about? And
Now
what
we
does
have,
stress cause people?
yes, we have good and bad stress, Divine. Good stress is that, you wake up in the morning, certain hormones are spilled out, okay? You get active. This is to activate you, to get you going. Again, this is similar to any type of demand to the body. Okay, so that stress which motivates you, which keeps you going, is called good stress. Everybody has that. Or you have an exam coming up, you jump out of your bed quickly, you get going and study for this exam, or you have a presentation like I did today, and you have to get prepared for that. Your blood pressure goes up a bit, there is cortisol that is released into the blood system, and that builds, that prepares your body for action. Those are all good stressors. Once you begin to do what you need to do, the stress, the effects of that stress are getting counteracted. There is some pleasure reward system jumping into play, and your blood pressure and your heart rate all begin to normalize. Now, here's the other stress that is a problem. The stress that is not properly managed. If you recall, I told you that an important point in life to do and go and do some checkups is if a catastrophic event occurs in your life. What do I mean? A life-changing event in your life, not necessarily on you, but on someone, a close loved one. Say you lose a member of the family, God forbid, somebody really close to you. You begin to grieve, you do all what you need to do. However, after a month or so, you are still pretty in a depressed, sad mood. You are not able to manage this. You definitely need to see a professional. You need to see a doctor and get checked out. You need to put into place certain mechanisms to be able to counteract this stress. Stress is terrible. Stress is underlying cause of a lot of diseases as well, Divine. I'm so sorry. Now, cortisol will also release sugar in the blood. So here your blood pressure, your blood sugars begin to go up. Cortisol will also cause the increase in your heart rate. And if not controlled, will lead to hypertension as well. So you begin to see how the effects of stress can also play within these other diseases, such as heart disease, strokes, diabetes. Stress
Here's what Mechongante says. Stress, some stressors may include huge unexpected monetary gain. If you want a jackpot, I tell you what, I tell my friends humorously that if I won the jackpot, say $1 billion, you better check me into a psychiatric ward before I go get the check.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This, my dear, I didn't catch the name very well, but this, my dear friend, I'll call you that, it's absolutely true. Some good stress can also switch into, when poorly controlled, can become a big disease causer at the end. So we're talking of stress that is not well managed. You're overexcited, you just keep going on this high, okay? And then, you do things that may be not so good for you.
Here is what Lady Christine Quine, one of the biggest supporters, flag bearers of Chat Night Africa, says.
Hi,
you are
sister.
loving. She's loving the discussion, so succinct and clear. Thank you, Christine Quine, for your support, for being such a powerful flag bearer of Chat Night Africa, Voices of Africa, Chat Night Africa. Before we go, I'm going to open the line again, the phone line again. If you have any questions, please dial the number 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. Before I ask Dr. Joanna Talla to say what her last word is, are there some diseases in the family which if your parent had or your mother had, you should be checking yourself up for those diseases? If yes, why? And what are these diseases we're talking about, by the way?
Yes, Divine, absolutely. Some families have the predisposition for certain diseases. Again, hypertension will be one of those, diabetes, type 1, type 2 as well. People might have predisposition. That means certain things, if not controlled, can then lead to these diseases. So absolutely, some of these diseases, even some forms of cancer, right? It's not all environmental. Some forms of cancer, people have predisposition to develop those cancers. However, predisposition does not mean you get the disease. It means you should be more careful, more vigilant, take note, take care of yourself. Go and do a checkup every so often to be sure that even when you're doing what you think is absolutely right, you are indeed staying where you're supposed to be, healthy.
Well, you've heard it. If somebody in your family, it looks like I have a caller on the line. This is Chat Night Africa. Hello.
Hello, my name is Aratu. I just sent the text, by the way, and I'm calling from Dallas, Texas. My question was that, like 6 years ago, I was so overweight and I have a pre-diabetes, and my doctor advised me to lose weight, even though I lose all my weight. And I still continue having the same thing to today. So how can I get rid of it? That's my question. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. How do you respond?
Yes. Thank you, Aratu, for your question. And hi, Aratu. Yes, you know, Aratu, in some people, definitely reducing your weight is a plus, right? It's a huge plus because certain complications of that diabetes are going to be decreased. Here's the thing. Unfortunately, some people might have progressed from type 2 diabetes, which is the adult onset of diabetes, right? There is low response to insulin, the hormone that pushes the body out of the bloodstream. Now, some people might, over time, progress, unfortunately, from type 2 and have some component of type 1 diabetes, which means that you don't even begin to produce this insulin. Aratu, you have reduced your weight, you are controlling what you eat, you are definitely doing the right thing. If this hasn't resulted in the complete reversal of your diabetes, I know you're talking with your doctor, he will advise you to get some treatment, and that might be the best thing for you. Stay healthy and take what you need to take to keep it low so that you don't have complications from the diabetes.
And do you have a last word, doctor, before we go?
Yes, absolutely, my dear friends and listeners. I urge you to do frequent checkup, even if you are feeling well. There are all kinds of things available that we can do to prevent diabetes or these other chronic diseases like stroke, heart disease to occur. Heart disease, by the way, is the #1 cause of death in America, heart disease. And predisposition to heart disease, diabetes, hypertension. What are these? Type 2 diabetes and hypertension are controllable diseases. So people, do your part, take charge of your health, and try to make sure that you don't get to this catastrophic state. Thank you so much for listening.
Dr. Thala, I want to thank you for joining the Chat Night Africa medical team. I really appreciate you for generously sharing your knowledge. First of all, if you know anyone who is doing something that puts smiles in the faces of others, let us know. You can reach me via Messenger. You can reach me via WhatsApp. Lots of you watching have my phone number. Let us know. We want to bring people like Dr. Thala Joanna on the platform to share the knowledge. If somebody's doing something, regardless of nationality,
yes,
by all means. Here's what we've also done for you on the website. If you go to www.chatnightafrica, you can actually write privately to the doctors. This disclaimer, they'll not be writing you a prescription.
no,
They'll be talking to you, sharing knowledge, giving you information that helps you, that empower you.
absolutely.
That's just one of the many things we have done for you on the website. And if you don't want to go do medical checkup because you're worried that you'll be told what you don't want to hear, well, if your face is dirty, you don't want to look into the mirror, your face doesn't clean itself.
Absolutely.
That's my response. Dr. Tal, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Divine, for having me. Thank you to all listeners.
And that's Dr. Tala Joanna. If you are celebrating your birthday, if you know of any friends celebrating their birthdays, by all means, let us know. We will join you in celebrating it. And this is how we do it at Chat Night Africa. Watch this. You have been watching Voices of Africa at Chat Night. My name is Sir Divine Chiamakong, and that's where we close the door. I'll be back again soon and very soon for yet another exhilarating, instructive broadcast. I want to thank all the supporters of Chat Night Africa, those who helped us build the stage, the platform to look the way it does, those who hook us up with important guests. And if you know important guests who have something to share, please contact me. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Divine Chiamakong, and I thank Mr. Ze Roger Full, who has been producing this broadcast thousands of miles out there in Lagos, Nigeria. You have my permission, our permission to go ahead and share this broadcast. Thank you and be well. Bye for now.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming to get down. I'm coming to dance, We're gonna dance, we're gonna get down, we're gonna party hardy. We're gonna boogie woogie, and when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready.